Welcome back to episode 5 of the Break It Down series. If this is your first time coming to this and watching this, then basically this series is about looking at different scenarios, and then try to provide some form of thoughts and reasoning, maybe solutions to the scenarios. So let's take a look at what we have for today. Team A has been using Scrum for the past 8 months. Recently, one of the developers reached out and would like to meet and discuss the following changes. Change the sprint from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Change the daily scrum to twice a week. Only do sprint review and sprint retrospective every other sprint. As the scrum master or the coach, how would you respond? I'm curious, how would you respond to that? Put it in the comments below. So let's take a look at what we have. I think a couple of things that stand out right here is the teams has been using Scrum for 8 months. With that information, my assumption is that they're probably doing a couple of things, and there are things that they like and don't like. And that's what prompts the changes of the request for changes. The changes here are from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Daily Scrum, reduce it to twice a week instead of daily. And then only do sprint review and retrospective every other sprint. So what I would be curious about is the why. Why are the changes? What prompted the changes? Why go from 2 weeks to 4 weeks? Possibly, usually what I do see is when folks can't finish their work. So there's an assumption that if I would extend the sprint, then my work can get done. Doing a daily scrum twice a week, it's one of those things where there is a notion of, hey, we don't have time. We rather do it every other day instead of every day, or possibly there is no update. That's a waste of time to show up because there is no update. I think this goes back possibly in line with why they want to go from 2 weeks to 4 weeks as well. And the last thing that they want to do was doing retrospective and review every other sprint. Now, if you think about this, that means feedback, right? So they're possibly saying, hey, we don't have time. Maybe that's what's happening to do these things. We don't have time to do a review because there might be nothing to review. And they possibly don't have time to spend on retrospective. And what jumps up at me is possibly there is a misunderstanding or not understanding the why behind some of these events and the cadence itself. So sprint review, sprint retrospective, most of the time, what tends to fail is if it's determined as a checkpoint or a status report. Retrospective is considered one of those. It's a waste of time, and that's when you see teams wanting to drop it. Daily Scrum is another one of those where if I'm showing up only giving status update, then it's probably a waste of time. So again, that's probably one reason why. 2 weeks to 4 weeks, we hear this oftentimes. For me, whether you do it 2 weeks or 4 weeks, the data of how much work you can do is probably going to be the same. So assuming you're doing a good job of breaking down your work to the right size stories, then maybe every 2 weeks when you measure it, you're doing 6 stories. And every 4 sprints, you're only doubling that, right? The amount will just be double of what you have. So why the change? 8 months doing this, I would say maybe there's some maturity in this, but again, I don't know. Could the story be in the right format? Is the story broken down properly in terms of, you look at the spider model from Mike Cohen, or you look at the invest model, for example? Could we do some sort of those things here? The retrospective and review, maybe review, nobody showing up, maybe want to consider as to why. So again, we're trying to find out what's the reason behind wanting to do every other sprint. Now, as the Scrum Master coach, that's what I'll be curious about, the why behind it. One other thing that I would like to know as a Scrum Master or coach is it a team decision? Did the team come to this conclusion that this is the change they want to do? Or is it just an individual on the team that's pushing for this? So I would want to know that. We want to make sure that indeed it is the team that's wanting to try this and not just one person. So again, it might be a strong vocal voice and everybody else is kind of being quiet, or is it a consensus that, hey, we've done this for 8 months and we would like to do the change? Now, how would I respond to this? I think my biggest thing is, sure, why not? You're doing 8 months now. You have some idea what you like, what you don't like. But why would you want to change? What problem are you trying to solve? Right? So if I go from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, what problem are we solving? So I would treat that as a hypothesis. Says, awesome, that's cool. When we go and make this change, the assumption is that the problem that we see is going to go away. If that's the case, if we understand the why and we know that what problem is solving, I would say go try it. Go experiment with it. Now, I do get it. Any changes that we do to Scrum means it's no longer Scrum. Is that okay? Yeah, absolutely. Nobody's going to come and slap your hand or anything like that. There's no Scrum police. You can change it however you want, but by changing it, it's no longer Scrum. So there's no big deal around it other than, hey, we're not doing Scrum, just roughly a little bit like Scrum. We took some Scrum's concept and do that. That's okay. Now, a lot of people complain also, hey, the fact that I change it, and pretty often I see that oftentimes, is that things doesn't go well. And they start blaming Scrum for it. By the way, if you change Scrum, it's no longer Scrum, so you can't put your blame on Scrum if things doesn't work out. So, how would I respond? Sure, let's experiment. That means at the end of the experiment, what would be my results be? I'm willing to give it a time. How long do you want to experiment? 3 sprints? Sure, let's do that. What would the result be? Who knows? Maybe for this team, it works out great. Our customers are happy. Our stakeholders are happy. If that's the case, who am I to stop you? Right? So I think I would take that approach as a Scrum Master coach. I would want to know the why, set up it as an experiment, go try it out, and if it doesn't work, go back. So there you have it. I'm curious in terms of how would you, as a Scrum Master or coach, maybe as an Agilist, how would you respond to this? Put it in the comment below. If you like this video, give it a like. If you're first time here, remember to subscribe. Bye.